All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Everyday Eady, where we talk about everything. No topic is too much. We talk about anything and everything. And I am really excited to dive into today's topic of relationships and being busy. Yeah. That's what I really wanted to talk about today, too. So we've got a couple things we want to dive into. Oh my God, the big deep sigh is like, oh, the relationships. This is where it gets interesting.
Yeah, hard conversations, which is good though. Those are the conversations that you need to have to grow.
Which I think is funny. Actually, we had a pretty rough week last week. Mm-hmm. There was some bumpy. There was some turbulence.
And there was turbulence. Yeah. It was good though, because then we had a disagreement or fight or whatever, and then we actually put shit out on the table, and then we walked away because nothing was getting resolved, and then we came back and we actually explained where we were coming from, and it's good. Like anytime, well, especially you're not the strongest at speaking your mind and actually.
Well, I don't like confrontation, but sometimes it's like it's not necessarily that it's confrontation. It's like we just need to air our voices, our opinions, or why we're feeling so headbutty lately, right?
Right. Well, if the problem's not on the table, how can anybody work to resolve it?
Right. I think for me, what I try to do, my approach, which doesn't work, is just avoid it till it goes away, which ends up, maybe it might go away, but then it comes back later and it's always way worse and it blows up. I blow up. The sink blows up.
Sink blows up, yeah. Krista smashed our sink once with a cast iron pan. Actually, we even brought that up during our fight and something, and then you said to me, you talk to me like I'm 2 years old. And I was like, what? No, I don't. I'm just trying to explain where I'm coming from, and I'm trying to explain it as fully as I possibly can so that I'm making sure that I'm saying the angle so that you actually understand where I'm coming from. And then it wasn't like 30 seconds later and you smashed something in the dishwasher. And I was like, you just smashed that like you're fucking 2 years old.
Right, because I think that's just what doesn't work for me. I'm like, I just hold it all in and it comes out as like, Otto's like this too, it comes out as this form of like aggression, actual physical aggression, but it's like, just speak your words, right?
Yeah.
And like, we've been
Have the hard conversations,
and we've been getting a lot better at that. So I think that was...
Well, in the past, as we've grown...
TSN.
Over the years.
Turning point.
There's been times, and then you let it out, and then you lash out, and then sometimes it's about something that you probably have no business really lashing out about, but every time you do it, I'm like happy and I'm proud of you. Because it's like, yes, you actually said something.
Totally, and it's so funny, because we both went our separate ways after we kind of like said our 2 cents, and then even like I think it was the next day or something, I was like, I actually really loved that we both got so mad. Like, and you're like, me too. Once the like heat went back down, I was just like, that was awesome, right?
We aired it out.
Right? It's like, sometimes it's like, man, and like, sometimes we can have conversations where it doesn't have to get that heated, but those heated ones are kind of like when they're intense like that, it's like, oh wow.
Right. And that's been what's like worked for us, and we continually grow and we work on it. Like I remember sitting down with a couple last summer, and we were camping, we were talking to them, and they were talking about how they fight and about how they never come to a resolution. They just fight and then they don't solve anything and then they just go on with their day. And I'm like, well, that's not super healthy.
No.
And they're like a younger couple, they've only been together for like a year, and we were talking back and forth. I was like, man, when me and you first started dating, I remember, and then that wears off, and then you start having your disagreements and stuff, and then I remember lots of times I'd put it on the table, okay, let's talk about this, and then you wouldn't, and then you like the next day or later on in the day, then you'd be like, text me something, and I'm like, this is so stupid. Like, why are we texting about this when we could have just put it on the table and had the gosh darn goddamn conversation before, right? And then that angered me, but then it did, and that would get me frustrated. I'm like, this is so stupid. Like, why are we talking via fucking text message?
Right.
And then as we went on and progressed and we've been together longer and longer, then eventually I got to a point where I just like harnessed it, and I was like, wait a minute, these text message conversations that we're having afterwards is a way of us airing it out and actually explaining how we feel, instead of having the tension or that anger and that anxiety that you try and veer away from, like uncomfortable conversations, which I'm open to having a uncomfortable conversation, but I'll voice my opinion, and usually when I voice my opinion, people take that as being offensive, but it's like, well, I'm just saying my opinion, my side, right? And then it's because people don't like conflict, and then when you bring it up and you have a different relationship with it, and you're like, whatever, let's hash this out, and I'm just like, whoa, the reason I avoid these difficult conversations is because it's the
expectation, right? So, and I need to change my relationship with that too, and just knowing that you have a voice and it can be spoken and
without getting mad about it.
Without getting mad, and
the other person
come
doesn't
to a
necessarily have to
resolution.
agree.
And maybe we might not. Maybe it might come out in the form of rage on the page if you got to write it down or text it to your spouse so that at least it's aired out. Okay, you've calmed down, and then maybe when he gets home, then we can have that nice actual conversation.
Yeah, or even, and the resolution sometimes can be like, no, this is where I stand, and this is where my line is, and I'm not changing on that.
Yeah.
Whether it's something with your kids or fitness or whatever it is.
Too much or whatever it is.
Right, like this is where I'm at, and no, I don't want to change that. It's like, okay, well, I get that. Well, then can we do this? Right, and then it's like coming to a mutual agreement on something. But then at the same time, like if your standards are way over left and somebody else is way over right, and you didn't kind of air some of those things out from when you started your relationship, well.
No, then you're probably going to have some tension. It's going to be a little harder for sure.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the thing that's so cool, I think, about our relationship is we're completely, like, personality-wise and even, like, visually are completely yin and yang, but so much of, like, our heart and our intentions and our mission and our beliefs are all very strongly intertwined. So that's, I think, what works so well for us, too. But also, we come from such a yin-yang...
Yeah, our backgrounds are different.
Disposition. Right?
Yeah, our views on lots of stuff is different, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And then I think that also makes us strong, because lots of your views and stuff have changed lots of my views, and lots of my views on stuff have changed
totally
some of your views.
Yeah.
Right? But like, and then, yeah. But I also, and then everybody's got their back history. Not that this is something that we really wanted to get into, but it's like, well, I look intimidating, tattoos, whatever, beard and shit. Well, I grew this beard out and my hair out because when I was younger, there was control there that I couldn't. So now it's like, well, I'm in control of my own stuff, so now I do, right? And then like lots of what I do is like, yeah, like if I want to come off as being intimidating or whatever, so people leave me alone, well, that's good. But if you don't take, what I used to say when I was younger, if you don't take the time to find out what's really on the inside with me, then I don't care what your opinion is.
100%.
And then people that did actually get to know me were like, wow, this guy's actually a pretty big softie,
right?
And care about other people,
which is very true.
I do. I care about
care
other
deeply.
people. Yeah, and then a different topic, like when I was talking to a guy the other day, and there's two guys that I went to high school with, and he was like, oh, I remember you're the only, we were cracking jokes, wiener jokes or whatever back and forth, blue collar guy stuff. And then the guy's like, you're the only guy that I know that's beat up somebody while he was naked. And I was like, what? Cool. And then he's like, yeah, like when we were in high school, there was that guy or whatever in the change room gym and this and that. And he's like, yeah. And then he grabbed you by the throat, and he's like, and then you just dropped your towel and then you just pummeled him in the change room. And I was like, oh man. And then I've grown and changed so much now, whereas like I kind of chuckle. I was like, yeah, that's funny looking at it when I'm talking to them like that. I was like, oh yeah, that is funny, and I do kind of remember that. But I so strongly don't focus on the past. I focus very heavily on like right now and what's going on. Mm-hmm. But then that got my brain thinking, and I'm like, man, what did I do to that guy that made him that mad that he grabbed me by the throat?
Right.
Like, was I chirping?
Probably.
Right? Or being a dick, or had I done something to him in the past, or was it just something that just escalated like that quickly and he deserved to get an ass kicking? Like, I don't remember, I don't know. But it's like, oh man. And then that just comes down, it's like, well, the things from your past is, well, who you were in your past isn't who you are now.
Amen.
Like, it's that, I mean, if something happened, if somebody grabbed me by the throat in a change room right now and I was naked, I'd swing first, ask questions later, right? Yeah. But then at the same time, I think who I am right now too is, it's a lot less likely, because my energy and how I care about other people and their opinions and what's going on in their lives and their journey so much that I don't think I would let somebody get to that without talking to them and being able to help them.
Right, 100%. And I think that's what the cool thing is. Like, you're not, like I think you said this, like, no shit, I'm going to change from who the person I was. And I hope people change from who they were, because that's just the evolution of life. And I think even like as us, like when we first started dating, I do think you're not a totally different person then, but we were young, and like you're at different ages too, right? And
different stages
of your life. Like we were into, like, we didn't have kids, we like to go out and party and have fun and do all that stuff too, and like no regrets. But now it's just like
We've been on a different journey together.
Yeah, we've been on a journey together and we've grown, evolved as people. And I think that's really like that self-awareness to go back and reflect and be like, geez, maybe like I was a little bit of a live wire back then, but that's just where you were in your phase. And we can't beat ourselves up about that. We just learn from those things that we go through and we grow through. And I think we're just doing our best that we can right now too anyways. Mm-hmm. And you probably were then too. It's not like you were just on a mission to beat up people, I don't think.
No, it's just no, I don't think, no, that was never it. You and I talked to a guy about that a while ago, and he was like, well, you used to get in lots of fights. I was like, well, I got in some. Some were me in self-defense, some were me, we were put in bad situations, some were me just being the dick, and I got beat up sometimes. I don't know, I was just young testosterone-fueled dude trying to figure out who he was.
And that's exactly where we're at today, right? And like we were just talking about, like for us, well, we can kind of like snowball this into busy keeping, or
being busy.
I think that's the thing too, where a lot of these things, we're just growing and evolving, but like, I don't know if it's just we have more awareness of it now too, but like when fear gets in the way of you, like for me, I am 100% guilty of just being busy just to avoid feeling the feelings or the tension or the stress.
Your brain, as soon as you activate that stress in your brain, the front of your brain creates the cortisol, it comes out and you go into fight or flight or freeze or fawn. And fawning is funny because I was learning about this actually the other day from a mentor, and he was talking about it. I was like, oh man, so fawning, lots of people know that your brain goes into those first three, but fawning is actually, you actually almost like suck up to the person who created the stress. So it happens a lot in like abusive relationships, right? And then typically the abusive relationships are the man on the woman, but there is some the other way around. But you actually end up sucking up more to that person, whether it's kissing their ass to get on their good side or whatever it is, but fawning. And then I look back, I was like, oh man, like as much as I want to be tough and talk like, oh, I'm such a manly man and whatever, I'd fight for this, fight for that. I was like, damn, did I ever fawn? Like with moving around lots and being put in different situations in different places with different schools and stuff like that, like, and then it was those guys that were kind of dicks. I would almost like kiss their ass and then almost not be myself, which when you're young you're trying to figure out who yourself is, but I would get easily directed into this way or this way, right or left, or into what they were doing, which I mean, people you talk about, you are who you surround yourself with, right? 100%. So I'd surround myself in that and then I get involved in that. But I'm very happy when I was younger that I would take a look at the big picture and I would be like, okay, this isn't going in the direction that I want to be going, say who I'm hanging out with or whatever. And then I would look out and I'd see people that were going in the direction that I wanted to go, and I'd be like, well, I like that. So then I would just reach out to those guys. Right. And then start hanging out with them and then building relationships with them, and then that's the direction that I would go because I was in that group. So I know lots of times I was fawning, but then at the same time I could take a step back, look at the big picture, be like, I don't want to be here. I see where this is going. I don't want to go in that direction. I like what those guys are doing. I'm going that way. It's
right.
weird.
I think that's to have that awareness is really awesome. I feel like I'm kind of in a little bit of that kind of right now too, where I'm like, I'm really confident in the person I am, but I also want to grow myself and push. So it's like now I'm looking for people that are like, oh, I want to be more stretched and more out there like that person right now too. So because it's who you surround yourself with, and
then once you surround yourself with them, you can learn about the bases that they built to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you see something on the outside and you look and you're like, oh, that looks great, and then you get there, you're like, holy shit.
Yes.
Like it's just a nice covering on the inside as a burning hot lava. But then sometimes it's like, oh wow, and you say social media and people are doing all this stuff and you're like, oh wow, that looks really good, and then you get in there and they have structures built and there's reasons why they're doing this and there's reasons why they're doing that, like about the busy getting busy, how we were talking about, like that's one thing that we're really trying to pivot on to and make sure with DBL that we're structuring it in a way that you still have freedom and we're supporting the employees,
right,
and we're building out that base so it's strong enough for the next step in growth, right? And then you can still support your people. And then with me not working with the company I was working with before, I'm going through a roller coaster now because I'm trying to do stuff that's fulfilling to me, and that is helping other people on their journeys with stuff that I've learned too. So that's it. Then we're getting busy with that.
Right.
And then some days I'm not busy, and I'm used to being busy because my old job was busy and that's structured. So then that throws me off for a loop, and then I get pissed off at you when really I should be pissed off at myself. And it's just like a whole new learning lesson that we're going through as a team, and then and there's been ups and there's been downs, and it's great. And then but now like working with other people in the wellness coaching and helping them through stuff. My coach said it the other day, and he said he's like, man, he's like, sometimes I sit back and it's like, how the fuck am I supposed to help anybody when I'm in this whirlwind? Right. It's like, well, you used to be in a different whirlwind with different problems, and you learn how to solve them. So you are best suited to teach those steps to get out of that problem, right? And it's like, oh man, everybody's in a whirlwind. Yeah, it's 100%. Cool. It's cool. And then in the fitness realm, helping people in the fitness realm has made me take a step back. I know all the things that I've learned for me that worked and what didn't work, but other people have different goals and other people have different problems that they're trying to work with. So taking a step back, looking at them, communicating with them, trying to figure out what they're trying to say, even if they don't know how they're saying it, trying to say what I want them to do in different ways so that we get to the end goal that we want, and structuring a program for somebody else is mind-blowing. It is so cool to be able to look at it from this whole new lens, and it's like, wow, it's interesting. And then it's helped me on like in the fitness, and then in my own mindset too. It's helped me reevaluate what I'm doing. Be like, you know what, that hasn't been working. I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that.
Well, that's just it too, and it's all about pivoting and trying new things if things aren't working. I think that sometimes when we get stuck, we think that, oh, this is the dead end, but it's like it might just be a little 15-degree turn that you have to make, and keep pivoting until you figure out where you want to go, and not just quit on yourself, right? So I think you've been doing very well with that, where you're like, you get so frustrated. I'm like, it's only been like what, 40 days, and I was like, hey, like just keep pivoting and trying new things, and you don't know when your next door is going to open and unfold for you. So it's just, I think that's just my hippity dippity perspective of it too.
But then I've always been like that too, where it's like, oh, it's going to work out, it's going to sort itself out. But then when it's me, and it's completely everything for me changed except for in our house. Right. But then the one thing that you hit the nail on the head with that really made me go, because you're I know I'm doing this. Oh, I know I'm doing this. Yeah, and you're naming these things. But then you said, and then the kids. And then you said the kids, and then I was like, oh, because the parent-teacher interviews, and the teachers even said, yeah, the past couple months the kids have been really excelling and like pivoting up and going in the right direction. I'm like, wow. Yeah. That is so cool.
Well, that's just it. Having you around and more presence with them and that more connection and time has been huge for the kids too. And then even just having us, like they love having us all together as a family. So them seeing us always together too makes them super happy. So I think that's been like a really cool part of this, why we try to do so much together. When like we don't even like to travel without each other, like go anywhere. So it's like we like to try to do as much as we can as a team, as a group, because that's just what we are.
The odd time you do a girls' night, or the odd time I'm out with guys or whatever, but that's very infrequent because I'd rather have you there.
Right, that's just it. We like just trying to find activities or events or anything that we can go together, right?
Or if we're in Mexico, like on a trip, I'd rather bring the kids.
100%.
Like we're not working.
Right? Yeah, 100%.
Why wouldn't we want the kids to be there? Right? Yeah. And then that stress, that brings its own stresses, but then we manage through it. Like it's...
Well, that's just it.
And then that touches, like, that's one thing that we wanted to talk about too. I sent you that video the other day, and it's like the one guy about like kids and sports is like, well, my kids don't do sports. Everybody's like, well, they should. And he's like, well, no, because my kid focuses and he's single-minded and he goes this direction and he's very much like me and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, like as much as I believe in team sports and how that's good for people, at the same time, there's lots of other things that are good too, like socializing. Sure, socializing with other kids is great, but I mean, if you're putting kids in a social circle and that social circle is just full of a bunch of dickheads, are you actually benefiting the kids or not?
Or maybe you're just like again, I totally agree. Or maybe you're just putting them in the sports because that's what society or everybody else feels like they're doing. But like maybe your kid doesn't like that sport, or maybe they're not even excelling with the group of kids that they're playing that sport with.
And then you don't know. And then there's the other argument of, well, you don't know unless they try. Right. Like we let the kids try their stuff. Yeah. But at the same time, like both. RJ likes getting out and just talking and being around people. And Otto loves just being around us and at home. Yeah. Right? But then at the same time, as soon as we are with them and our attention is there, and like we've really worked on our structures to be like present when we're actually present, and when we're present, the kids just thrive.
Oh yeah.
But then I mean, I got business stuff on the side that I'm trying to do, and then training, and then you got DBL on the business there, and then we got employees, and then we're working on DBL together. Like there's lots of stuff and variables where we are busy, where our attention can't be solely on them. But I think we've got really good at communicating with them, be like, hey dudes, you have this amount of time, and then to go do this, do your own thing, and then we're pivoting, and then that iPad gets shut off, and our phones get shut off, and then boom, we're all present together. So it's quality over quantity.
That's just it, and I think you do such a good job of that too. It's like that quantity over quality, right? Or quality over quantity, right? So it's like we can pack like even just the little things. We're just reading a few books before bed. I know they've been really loving that too, and they get excited which bed they're going to go into, right? And it's just little things like that that you do so well, where it's like they just want to be seen and heard and just have your full attention. And I think it's so beautiful. The more you do that, they're thriving because of that.
But I also think it's good for our kids to grow up in an environment where they see their parents thriving too.
Yeah.
Like how was I supposed to go to a job that was sucking my soul out of me? And then continually on every single day, and then raise my kids and be like, boys, you can do whatever you need to do, and but because I was comfortable and I had a decent salary there, like how am I supposed to tell the kids this when this place is sucking my soul out?
Right.
No, man, no. And then like people live till they're 120 years old now. Like when you're 35, you're young.
We're so young,
and with modern medicine and all the technology that's not medicine. I don't like the medicine. I don't like how doctors are practicing medicine.
Right.
But like the technology and stuff that's available.
We touched on so many topics, but I think like going back to what you just said there, I'm like, you hit me right in the feels with, we need to be thriving in our own areas so that our kids can see that too. Like if you're somewhere where the soul is sucking the life out of you and you're coming home and not being the best version of you, or you're not enjoying your life, like, right?
I can actually laugh and be happy and feel like myself again, and I'm joking differently, and it's like, yeah, like this is good. Yeah, and like really, you get what you focus on.
Yeah.
So focus on what you want.
Well, I think
and then put your energy that way, and like take a cup with water and start pouring it out, and pour that energy and all that attention into other people's cups, and then go to take a sip of your own water and there's no water in it.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have to fill your own cup first, and I mean sometimes obviously you have to pivot this way, pivot that way, but you have to put into your cup and fill it first so that you can overflow into others. Otherwise, you're not only are you running yourself out, but you're not giving others, when you're trying to give others your energy and your focus and your attention and your love, you're not giving them the best version of it anyways.
100%. I think like the last 2 weeks I kind of just went through that. I'm like, why do I feel so depleted? And all I wanted to do was just lay in bed and snuggle the kids and snuggle you, and all I wanted to do was just be with you guys. And I think that's just a reminder when maybe you're giving too much of yourself, and then you feel depleted, and really the ones that do matter are the ones that are your family circle, or those are the ones that deserve your love the most too. And then once you feel, like for me, I'm like, I love like doing my exercise, I love going for my walks, and I love spending my time with myself, so that when I come back I do feel refueled, and I connect better with you, with the kids, with my community.
Well, you're a huge giver, and you give so much to other people, but we've had this talking conversations before too. It's like, hey, I love that you're doing that. It's okay, and sometimes I know that I'm gonna have to pour into your cup so that you can pour into others. But at the same time, it's like, hey, if I keep pouring into yours, so you're pouring into others, you're gonna piss me off.
And empty
because I need you to turn around, and I need you to be filling your cup and in our environment and the family too. Right. Like where like you can exhaust yourself trying to help other people. And I know first responders and psychologists and people that are working with people that have such this negative energy and trying to help them through bad things. Lots of those people get so depleted because they're helping other people so much, and it's hard for them to fill up for themselves too.
Right. Right, and I think
priority number one is what's in our house, and then we build that strong as we can, so that it's overflowing, and then we can pour out into others.
Right, and that's just it. Like at the end of the day, it's you versus you. So it's like I don't think it's selfish to take care of yourself. Like you go to the gym every day too, and I'm like, yes, like we highly support each other in those things that you need to do for yourself, because we're just it's actually pretty beautiful to see when both of us have filled up our cups and doing the things that
then we're rocking.
It's awesome, and you can feel it. The kids can feel it. We're kissing and we're making out. They're like, ew, gross. Like everything, it just thrives, and we're out playing soccer with the kids. Like everything just feels so in alignment when you and it sounds so cliche, but fill up your own freaking cup. Like I know people can hear it and preach about it, but it's like that whole thing. Like, yeah, you know, but are you doing it, right?
But we've also set up structures so that we do that for ourselves too, and then we've built maps so that we can catch it before it gets too far gone, and typically we can draw it back. Right? And that part of that is our communicating. Part of that is our weekly meetings when we do our talking and stuff like that too. Like, and obviously, we don't have it all figured out, but we sure are a hell of a lot further than we were 2 years ago.
Right.
And we're just growing and getting better and better at it. And I think that's what marriage should be all about, is together building systems and seeing what works and growing stronger together, and then sometimes you get those deep wounds, and then and it sucks to heal, but once that heals, it's scar tissue, and it's way stronger than the skin ever was.
Well, that's just it. And I think some of those hard little struggles or setbacks or things you go through too, it makes our relationship stronger and everything too. And I don't think people should be afraid of that discomfort or the hard times, because we learn a lot more about each other when we go through that too. Hey?
Yeah. Fight your wife, flower your wife, and your wife. I had one guy tell me, he's like, man, you say the F word a lot. And I was like, you know what? And I said, screw it. I swear a lot.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, yeah, I'll try not to say it so much, because it's good for me to learn. Anyways, our time's just about up. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening.
Peace out, guys.
Peace.